Hi guys, so I know I promised a review of the Snackbox Micro months ago, and what's kind of put it off is that I've just really enjoyed kind of using it and playing it. It's not really been my primary fight stick for a lot of games. It's actually kind of become like my Tetris Battle Guide controller, oddly enough. But as you can see, it's kind of gotten beat up and scratched up a little bit, so I'm gonna actually be doing some swap outs on this. So here's the list of everything that we're going to do to this, and I'll go ahead and put a title up at the top of each portion of the video so that you guys can find exactly what it is that you're trying to do if you're doing this. Okay, so first up what you're going to want to do is remove the 5 screws in the back of the Snackbox Micro. As you can see, I've already removed 4 of them, just the 5th one out in the center. Now, I have the heavy metal plate on here. This process is no different if you have the current plate. And from here, you just remove the plate off the back and you'll see the PCB in it. Now a quick zoom in on the back, you'll see that there's a bunch of these little tabs. What you're going to want to do is find something small, either a tiny screwdriver, or what I'm using is a small plastic chopstick, and you're going to want to press on each of those little center tabs in order to remove the switches, which also contain the keycaps. Once the switches are out, you'll actually be able to remove the PCB from the case. They are actually the only thing that holds the PCB in place, and you'll see the 7 small black buttons up at the top. If you're going to be reusing the keycaps, just go ahead and quickly remove those. They just come right out. Next up, you'll just want to go ahead and grab your art case and remove the 5 screws in back of it, similar to how you did with the original. You'll want to sit those screws off to the side because they are a different size from the original case. So sadly, you cannot reuse the heavy metal plate, but you can order one specifically for this case. Now, as you can see, the art case is actually split into 3 pieces. You have the back plate, the case itself, as well as the acrylic sheet that you would put above the artwork. And from here, if you were trying to reuse the keycaps that you got with the original case, you can just go ahead and feed a screwdriver between the keycap and the button cap and just slowly and very carefully nudge them apart. These are very fragile, and I've already snapped one off in the process of just owning it. Next up, you're just going to want to slide the PCB into the art case. There is actually a smaller notch for you to feed the micro USB into that's a little bit smaller than what's actually in the original case. And from here you can see it's all lined up, and you're actually just going to go ahead and take your keycaps and press them into place. Just be careful because the tiny little prongs that are on the keycaps are very easy to bend. You just need to make sure these 2 prongs are lined up perfectly. And once you have them all in place, the PCB will actually be locked into the case and you can start applying your new keycaps or your old ones. Now, they do take a little bit of force and you're going to want to try and support it a little bit from behind. I would personally recommend maybe putting the keycap on the switch before actually attaching the switch to the board. Okay, from here you can go ahead and put the 1 screw in the back of it. This will just help lock the PCB in. At this point, I'd also recommend plugging in the snack box just to do a quick button test, make sure everything's working fine. Next up, it's just time for us to go ahead and apply the artwork, and what is probably the simplest part of the process. As you can see here, I have an image of Vega from Street Fighter that I commissioned from Tanataka over on Twitter. And I highly recommend you guys checking them out if you're ever looking for any custom artwork yourself. So from here you have 2 options. You can either just overlay your piece on top, or what I found to be easier, feeding it onto the screw pegs on the front cover, which then allows you to just slide it right down onto it. And from there, all you're doing is reattaching the other 4 screws. This will lock in that 3rd layer that protects your artwork. Now, this last step is entirely optional. As we all know, the micro USB is prone to failure, usually detaching from whatever board it's attaching to. So I went ahead and installed a maglock power cord for it. This is a very simple process. It's just simply finding yourself a cord with the proper head on it and installing the head into the micro USB slot. The main thing that you need to be sure of is that the cord you're buying supports both charging and data transfer for this to work. Okay everyone, that's it. I just wanted to include a final image of what it looks like in a higher resolution. I kind of wanted to touch on something that I've not really seen anyone talk about with the artwork case, and that is, since the 3rd layer actually sits up a little higher than on the original one, it actually solves a pretty big issue that I had with the Snackbox Micro, in that you couldn't easily do slides with your left hand. And in this case, it sits it so that the keys are almost level with the top panel, making it so that even if you're still using the concave keycaps like I do, slides are now very easy. I also want to note that I did install the lighter keycaps available on Junk Food Arcade's site. I also would recommend them. I am really enjoying them, at least for, you know, the left-hand side of the inputs. I think that they help out a lot more than maybe on the right. I kind of like having to press a little bit harder on the attack buttons. But that's it, everyone. I know this is a really long video, even compared to the ones that I normally do, but I hope there's just a lot of good information in here for you and that this can help you out in the future if you decide to do any of these upgrades to your current Snackbox Micro. Bye, everyone.